Hey everyone, it's Morgan. If you've been wondering where I've been, I owe you a bit of an explanation, so that's what I'm here to do today. I haven't posted an episode since May. My plan originally was to post an episode a month this year. That didn't happen, and there's a big reason for that. This summer, I was diagnosed with a rare neuroendocrine tumor. I had surgery in August, and they removed 4 of them. They weren't cancerous, and we caught them very early, but I did feel pretty miserable all summer. I'm doing a lot better now, thankfully, and I have a lot to tell you, so let's get into it. First of all, welcome back to Artist in New Wall Street. This podcast exists because I spent a decade in corporate America tying my identity to my career. I was chasing promotions, chasing the dollar, doing everything I could to keep my job at the center of my life. And I refer to that as the Wall Street mentality. And this show exists to flip that on its head. It's about putting creativity at the center instead, making life about art and connection and community and coming home to ourselves, really. It's also about building a life that doesn't require you to break yourself to earn rest. Today's episode is a solo episode. It'll be pretty short, but it will be personal and vulnerable, and I'm just here to show up. I think if you've ever felt like an alien in your own body or wondered if it's too late to make a big change, then this episode will hopefully be helpful to you. Let me back up to November 2024. I was hospitalized in November after a series of thunderclap headaches. And if you don't know what those are, consider yourself lucky because they are horrible. They're sudden, severe headaches that feel like your skull is like splitting open. And I thought it was more of like a one-off, but when I went to the ER, my blood pressure was like through the roof, like hypertensive crisis numbers. So they kept me overnight. They ran some tests, did some MRIs, CTs, like the whole thing. I was discharged after that specific hospitalization without clear answers, but I did have a gnawing sense that something deeper was wrong with me. So I did set up like a few follow-up appointments with some doctors. And I guess that moves us forward to around May. I was set up with some doctors who ordered me a 24-hour urine test. Like, you collect your pee in this big jug and refrigerate it like soup. It's very weird. And I am super used to doing that test now. But the results were really alarming. So my metanephrine and normetanephrine levels were like 3 times higher than normal. Okay? So that's a major red flag and an indication that you probably have a neuroendocrine tumor. So that's when I was set up with an endocrinologist. She sent me in for a PET scan, and that's what lit everything up in my body. It was absolutely terrifying. I thought I had cancer that had spread all over my body. Luckily, that was not the case, and I am very fortunate that was not the case. But it was pretty scary. So on May 21st, 2025, that's the day I got the results from the PET scan. Just a quick tangent here. They actually sent them through MyChart, and there wasn't a call or a doctor's note in those results. And so I was like processing that alone. I got the results back there, and I was like, what the hell does all this mean? So if you have MyChart, you should go in and set it up so that you don't see that until you actually get a doctor's note with it, because that was actually an excruciating 2 days without hearing from my doctor. But I did finally meet with my doctor on May 23rd, so 2 days after I got those results. He was very calm and clear and direct, and I went in with my parents, and he basically walked us through that I almost certainly had what's called a pheochromocytoma. If you don't know what that is, it's a rare adrenal tumor that kind of like dumps hormones into your body like nonstop. And it can cause things like headaches, high blood pressure, racing heart, panic attacks. So big deal, right? He did start me on medications to control my blood pressure and heart rate, which, by the way, those medications were so tough. I am so sorry to anyone who has to be on medications like that. I was like falling asleep sitting up throughout the summer. It was rough, and it was, yeah, I'm so happy that I'm no longer on those. But yeah, here's the thing though. As we were thinking about how to get these tumors out, we actually couldn't see the tumor clearly in the adrenal gland. Like, it looked thickened, but there wasn't like a clean visible mass. But those hormone levels were proof that something was like overproducing in my body. So the surgeon actually took my case to an adrenal tumor conference, and they consulted like multiple specialists, and surgery seemed very likely. So the original plan was to remove the adrenal gland and some nearby lymph nodes, but that's when all of the waiting happened. It was genuinely the summer of waiting. And waiting is like its own kind of illness. Waiting is hard. It's not like acute, but it's like this chronic, like unbearable thing, waiting, not knowing answers. Like, the uncertainty definitely was the hardest part for me. On June 11th, my doctors wrote me out on continuous medical leave, and I could not have been more grateful because I was not doing well at work. Like, it was very hard for me to focus on anything other than my health. And what that did mean, being out on medical leave, was for the first time in years, I wasn't responsible for a team, for a content calendar, for a campaign brief, for stakeholder alignment calls. I just wasn't doing any of that. I was just responsible for breathing, which was new to me. So what did I do all summer? I slept like it was my full-time job, 10 hours a night, at least one nap a day. I did take some slow walks with my dog, Chip. I rewatched Game of Thrones from start to finish and took like tons of notes on every season. I rearranged these shelves behind me. I did a media cleanse every Thursday for a month. So no social media, no TV, no AI, no internet, no music, no podcast, just got quiet, which was like such a gift to be able to do that. I also did the workbook for Your Body Is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor. And yeah, I have been absolutely brutal to my body. I've mentioned it a few times in a couple episodes, but I have really struggled with my body for most of my life. I have deeply rooted body image issues and disordered eating. I have a bit of an addiction to like quick fixes, things like food, alcohol, doom scrolling, like anything that helps me numb the discomfort of existing in a body that I like hate. And then I got this diagnosis, and eventually they did determine that this wasn't a tumor in my adrenal gland, but rather paraganglioma. So like same thing, another kind of neuroendocrine tumor that acts similarly, but originates outside of the adrenal gland. I've lived most of my life kind of cycling between this like big ambition and big emotion. And before this diagnosis, I was definitely a machine. Like, I was producing constantly. I even think that's one of my superpowers, or at least it used to be, is just like the sheer amount of producing I can do. And in a way, the diagnosis felt poetic. Like, the thing trying to kill me was the thing that had been running the show for years. But anyway, yeah, during medical leave, I had to confront something really uncomfortable. Like, I didn't know who I was without my job. I didn't know how to just be and exist in my body with my thoughts without the distraction of productivity. I even, like, one day during medical leave, I even asked myself, who am I without my job? And then I cried because I didn't know. But slowly over the summer, something did shift for me. I started like listening to my body instead of overriding it. And I gave myself permission to rest without earning it. I stopped treating my body like an enemy and started treating it like part of me. It wasn't perfect, and it's definitely still not perfect. I'm still figuring it out. But I did learn that you can't hate yourself into healing. You have to soften and you have to listen. You have to come home to yourself. So in August, I did have this surgery. They went in laparoscopically and removed 4 paraganglioma. 4, not 1, which does put me at higher risk of them coming back. But the lymph nodes were clear, which was a huge relief. So the tumors didn't spread. And again, we caught them very early. So I'm really lucky. And I know that recovery was very hard, but not necessarily in the way that I expected. The physical part was a bit more manageable, but the kind of like emotional and existential part was the part of it that really knocked me over. Because when I came out of surgery, I had this clarity that I hadn't felt in years. I came out of the whole experience knowing that I couldn't go back to the way that things were before. Like something in me fundamentally changed after going through this. So let's talk about the corporate world, because that's the other update I have for you all. The job market is pretty brutal out there. There's layoffs everywhere. Companies are asking people to do more with less. I worked at my last company for almost 4 years, and I'm really grateful for that time, especially for the support I received during my medical leave. But when it was time to look at the truth, it's all wrapped up in this podcast. I was climbing a ladder that wasn't taking me where I wanted to go. The higher I climbed, the further I got from the creative work that I actually loved. So I was leading more meetings. I was managing more team members. It was more distance from the craft itself, which is what drew me to the marketing field in the first place. My best friend, she gave me a book at the beginning of this year called Hope for the Flowers. It's about a caterpillar named Stripe who climbs a tower of other caterpillars, and everyone's like desperate to reach the top. No one knows what's up there. They just keep climbing and pushing and stepping on each other. Hi, it's me. I'm the caterpillar. Or at least I was. And there's another caterpillar in the story named Yellow, and she gets off the tower. She spins a cocoon and she transforms. Danny signed the book, Remember You Were Meant to Fly. And she knows that I've been thinking about going solo for years now. But I don't know if she knows like how much that book actually changed my life. It had a huge impact on me. It's funny how a children's book could do that. But I think about that often because it feels like my story. So when it came time to go back to work, I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand being out of alignment anymore. For years, I've been thinking about going out on my own. Something, though, has like always kept me in a corporate job, whether it's a bigger title, steadier paycheck, the safety of benefits, a voice in my head saying, not yet, you're not good enough. It took 4 tumors to knock me over the head with the truth that I am ready. I'm worthy of my dream life. And there's no more time to wait for the perfect moment. In a way, I felt like I wasn't listening to all these clues from the universe that I should leave. Like, they kept coming up and I kept being like, this is the year I'm going to leave corporate. And I feel like the universe was like, fine, Morgan, if you're not going to listen, then we'll make you listen. Here, have 4 tumors. So I left. September 19th was my last day at Vendavo as a senior director of content marketing. And now I'm going solo. So I'm running my own business now. I have been for about a month, helping people see themselves clearly, tell their story confidently, and call in what's unmistakably theirs. I'm doing this through content strategy, narrative development, and creative coaching, and I'm having so much fun. I'm coaching, I'm writing, I'm creating, I'm doing the work I was always meant to do on my terms, aligned with my values and at my pace. And honestly, it's absolutely terrifying, but also exhilarating. I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be, and I'm feeling very energized about work for the first time in a long time. So, here's what I learned this summer. Rest should not be earned by burning yourself out. You shouldn't have to break down before you rest again. Also, you take your car in every 6 months for an oil change, but you haven't been to the doctor in 5 years. Go to the doctor, right? Also, no one is coming to save you from yourself. You have to choose yourself. Very importantly, your body is not the enemy. It is probably trying to get your attention, so definitely listen to it. It is part of you, and it is the most important part of you. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything else. If you're on a ladder that's taking you away from your purpose, it's okay to get off that ladder. You have permission to go do what you want to do. Life isn't waiting around for someday. So where do we go from here? I am bringing this podcast back. My intention is a loose intention, but I am going to try to release one episode a month again. This is actually a labor of love. It takes a lot longer than you anticipate to put out episodes, but I'm going to do the best that I can. One episode a month will be my intention, but it may not turn out that way. One thing I do know, though, for sure, that's absolutely clear, is that I believe in this message of art is the new Wall Street more than ever. I believe in going after what you want and breaking the chains of all the beliefs and rules you think exist in society. Also, the world feels really heavy right now. Like, politics in America are absolutely insane. Every day feels more absurd than the last. Systems are broken, and it can feel really hard to show up. But that's exactly why I feel called to continue this podcast. We need to build lives that are aligned with the person we actually are, not who we think we should be. So I'm going to keep having conversations with people who are doing exactly that. People who got off the ladder, people who choose creativity over certainty, people who are building something meaningful and cool and maybe alternative. And I'm going to keep showing up here, honestly and vulnerably, because I think that's what we need more of. My next episode is one I recorded with Felicia Clark, who's a poet. She just recently released a poetry collection called Awake, Poetry for the Healing. We recorded this episode quite some time ago before I was out on medical leave. So it's finally going to come out after months of waiting. Felicia, I'm so sorry about that. And I'm sorry to my listeners who expected to hear some more episodes, but hopefully you're ready for some more and some new energy on this show. And I'm really looking forward to sharing Felicia's episode with you this week and sharing more during the rest of the year. In closing, I would just say, if you've been thinking about making a big change, listen to your gut, get quiet, disappear for a while and go inward. Let yourself feel what's true, even if it's uncomfortable. You definitely don't have to have it all figured out. I certainly don't. You just have to take that first step. Thanks for listening, and I'm so glad to be back.